This. Hello. So as you can see, I am Jen. I am with Pink Light Images, but I'm also with Weirdo Weddings, which is my new brand. Yes, Weirdo Weddings Photography, because apparently when I made my names up, I didn't want to type photography, nor did I want to say photography. Just really don't care about saying the word photography, but I am a photographer, not a planner. So today's talk is about expanding your brand, and I like to think of it as a way to, if you like a TV show and you like a character in a TV show, and then you zoom in on that one character and then make a whole new TV show, that's what I've done. It's kind of like, here's my brand, but here's something I want to focus on for a while. So in order for us to wake back up again, I was talking with her earlier, I was like, we are all full, we've had a lot of things happen, we've got our brain spinning, so I want you to just do that. That is my Not to Blue Man group. If you have seen the show, then you know they're pretty crazy. About me, I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I've had pink hair for over 16 years. I have 3 beautiful kitties. I've got a 6-year-old here. I'm an artist. I'm a traveler. I did my vow renewal live on Kid Craddock in the morning. And I threw Fausto in here because I did go up to Maine to see Fausto. It's just super fun. I love to travel, and this was my version of an AI backdrop. And I think it's ridiculous because AI is crazy. These are just a few more highlights. Photographer for 16 years. I love cosplay, I love creation, I love movies and sci-fi. Again, my cats are awesome. One is named Mando, after the Mandalorian. I did have a Blue Man Group theme wedding, and I think it's important for me to share that with you because you have to understand that this is not a new thing for me. I've been creative my entire life, and so was my wedding. And I started a new podcast called Tattoos and Toddlers because I have tattoos and I have a small child, and I like talking about business mixed in with parenting and caretaking because it's a whole other headspace. Of course, my most current tattoo, and I put Baby Yoda on there because, you know, kids. And kids do. Here recently, I was part of Sony's Facing Creativity with Brooke Shaden, which is a fine art series on facing and confronting fear, which is basically what I'm doing today. Standing in front of you is consistently confronting fear. Yep. So it was an awesome thing. And then this, if you really need to know a resume, this is all the stuff that I've been doing for the last 3 years as Weirdo Weddings, is because every chance I got, I wanted Weirdo Weddings to get on the map, and sometimes it takes a really long time for people to realize that you're not being just a joke. You're being taken seriously. So it took me a long time to get to this place. And so now I can just say, blah, 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 I did all this. So the backstory is, when the pandemic hit, as a photographer, and most events people, you had to shut your doors for a while. You had to postpone everything, maybe to a year, to 2 years, to 3 years. And what I realized was, as I was potty training my 3-year-old, and realizing and seeking in my life all over again, what was I going to do with my life and my business, and especially in photography? People were like, well, you just go do porch portraits. And I was like, that's boring. And then I thought to myself, who have I been serving, and who am I around a lot? A lot of weirdos. And in the fine art community, we all identify as weirdos anyway, so it just made sense to take this into the wedding industry. And there's nobody doing this, as far as I know, that blatantly says, I'm a weirdo, and I am doing this in the wedding industry. And if they are, let me know who they are. I'd love to connect them. So that's kind of like how it came. It's my COVID baby. It's 3 years old this summer. And this is a huge part of why I was talking about expanding your brand, because even though I was established as a photographer, and everybody in Dallas knows me as Pink Light Images, becoming Weirdo Weddings has been another adventure. I felt like I had to start all over again, which is kind of funny. We don't think about it like it should be easy. So my thing was, is I started a new brand. I've made an expansion. I've got this name. I've bought the domain in 30 minutes. I'm like, click, 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 click. You know, my husband's like, are you crazy? I was like, yes. So the best and quickest way, since I've been in business for so long, I was like, how do I take this out into the world quickly? And I know nothing is overnight, but I do know that the process is still the same. You have to get the word out, and how do you do that? Well, I can't wait for clients to come to me because I'd be waiting for a really long time. So I decided to start doing styled wedding shoots because I had failed miserably at the past ones, because I was in this place in my business where I was always inclusive, but my portfolio didn't show it enough. And so I spent a lot of time and a lot of years working on building the inclusivity portfolio because I was like, oh, my clients are awesome. I just wasn't able to show it on my website because I was too lazy on the website. Well, when everything shifted into Weirdo Weddings, I was like, well, I can't be lazy on my website anymore. I can't be lazy on my marketing. I was like, I have to find my people, and I have to find them now. So social media, content creation, obviously multiple platforms. We've heard that all day long about your multiple platforms. And of course, in-person events. Once in-person events started again, it was important for me to get in front of people and start talking about this new brand. So that's kind of what I've been doing this last year, big time. Oh, here we go. So, I think I'm missing a slide. Interesting. Okay. So basically what I wanted to take this into is when you're working with style shoots and with other vendors, I found a lot of people, and Kate's here because she's a big reason why I started doing style shoots a different way. And because she had a really bad experience with one where they didn't let her do her ideas. And I was like, you know what, I'm starting something new. I have a new venue that I've met called Lizzie Gator. Let's just do whatever Kate wants to do. And I will roll with it. Not a wedding planner though, right? But I felt that it was very important to highlight what you can get out of a styled shoot. And it's not something that is, it's not a thing of the past, it's a thing of now, because a lot of us need to build the content. And I think the experiences is what's important for a lot of vendors, and especially in Kate's circumstance. She really had these great ideas, but nobody would let her do them because that wasn't their idea. And I was like, well, why don't we just build the idea around what you want to do? So this is kind of like her little thing where she likes getting up at 2 a.m. and writing down the notes, because when you're in the creative process of doing a style shoot, it's kind of like invigorating, and you're reinvigorated for your craft. The first time I met her, she threw together a flower crown in like 5 minutes, and I was like, but I didn't know what it was like to be a floral designer of 20 plus years. So I'd never met anybody like that. I've been avoiding the wedding industry. I was like, wow, she's amazing. You know, all these people that I've met that continue to meet. So also we have Helga, who decided that, you know, she was an officiant. She was actually born on Halloween. So letting her be a part of this styled shoot in San Francisco and letting her put on this giant headpiece and really express herself, she actually was invigorated as an officiant. And so she says, one of my favorite parts was the flower crown. I was like, yes it was. You look good in it. And we also have wonderful Jasmine here, who's also an officiant. I don't know if y'all include officiants in your styled shoots, but I do. At least I do now. I was heavily focused on what does the actual styled shoot look like as far as an event? Because I didn't want to just do stations and be done. I wanted it to be a whole immersive experience as far as, you know, when they film movies, sometimes they film them out of order, and they'll film the beginning at the end or the beginning, the back and forth. But I felt like I needed to have an event that made sense timeline for my head. Because as an artist, I felt like in this case, I needed to go with a timeline. So I have to start with getting ready, I have to start with a ceremony, and then I have to do this, and then, you know, all the details just like a regular wedding. A cake, you know, I think one time we even had a smoke machine or something. Bubbles, we had bubbles one time. But I was like, I have to treat it like an actual event. So for Jasmine here, we dressed her up as Glinda, and she said it was a character she would have never thought of doing, but she just took it and made it her own. And so this is our wonderful couple that we did the Wizard of Oz recently. Trisha is fantastic because she modeled for Red Dress Lydia from Beetlejuice. But ever since that time, she has become an artist herself, and she's done things that are just totally out of her own bubble. And I think most of us, when we're working on style shoots, we don't think about how it can actually expand who you are as a person, which is why I call this expanding your brand. So when you're expanding your ideas or playing with stuff that really doesn't make sense at the time, maybe, it might make sense later when you build ideas on top of each other, right? So Trisha, I'm continuing to work with her. We're making stuff together all the time. And all she did was model for me for Beetlejuice. Relationships come out of this. Kate and I were just talking about this today. The relationships are what's important, not just collaborations, but those relationships are actually beneficial to your entire life. We also have Mark. I do frequent the Renaissance festivals. He's like very, very, very typical, doesn't have a lot to say, but when I asked him what he got out of the styled shoot, he says, you know what? It was great to see everybody else's passion, no matter what it was. Again, another officiant, we had him all dressed up, you know, his own. He's got several characters he does. He does do a pirate. He does do a lot of things that are super fun at the Ren Festival. And then he's done like a normal couple things too. But he's always got like either a handlebar mustache or something.
Just today I came across his Saint Nick.
Oh yeah, we did Krampus.
Yeah,
he sprayed his whole face. Then we have Yashe, who was another one of my Clubhouse friends who set up Kansas City shoots for me. We did a completely inclusive array of couples. of all different kinds, and it was the perfect time to try to do 4 in one day. I don't recommend it. I've done it twice. It's a lot. And then also we have Lizzie Gator, which you'll hear me talk about a lot, but Lizzie and Chris started this venue in 2020 about the same time I started my new brand, and about the same time I met Kate. So we all decided to get together and do something together, but they're literally building this from the ground up. It's a real building, and it is twisted, and they have architects come in and figure out how to build this. So Lizzie, the thing about Lizzie is that she said that doing the styled shoots actually helped her become more of a stylist. Can you imagine styling 18 people for a music video? I can't. But she said, I got confidence from these styled shoots because she was styling people on site with these styled shoots. Because we joke about Lizzie's closet is actually more like 4 or 5 closets. And she just loves having fun and dressing up. It's kind of like Disneyland in North Texas. And so this one's mine. I'm very proud of this one. But I needed y'all to see that I don't do things that are easy, right? Like I had this idea and I just go do it. With any art form, you just go do your idea, and if it flops, it flops. So this time I had leftover flowers, not my thing. Actually, I was texting Kate the whole time. I was like, what do you think about this? I made this. And she's like, that's amazing. And I was like, that's great, because it's a floral shield that I photographed on Black Sands Beach in San Francisco. And I had a lot of fun making it, and it just so happened that this couple was very Lord of the Rings meets Halloween meets Day of the Dead. So by the time I presented them with this shield, they were like, oh my God, this is perfect for our look and feel. And I didn't get a lot of chance to get to know everybody at these styled shoots. So I didn't do a questionnaire, I didn't do like an interview. I just showed up and there was 4 couples standing on the beach. But the fact that I made this and it fit with the theme, it was amazing. Again, always expanding here. So expansion to me also means unknown territory, which means a lot of unknown ideas are in front of you, a lot of unknown pathways, and I put the Starship Enterprise on there because I feel like when you're exploring like this and you're going into unknown territory, you have no idea what you're in for sometimes. You just know there's probably going to be a lot of emotions involved, there might be a lot of activities involved, you just never know. So I like to think of it like this. You've got a mixture of these things: fear, adventure, the unknown, rest, reflection, exploration. To me, this takes boldness to be able to step out and do this kind of stuff, because they will look at you strangely. They'll be like, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And you almost feel the need to explain yourself, but you don't have to, but I feel sometimes the need to do it. From the movie Romancing the Stone, the reason why I put this on here, because I couldn't find the graphic that I really wanted, is that she just kept saying, where are we going? Where are we going? And they're literally cutting a path through the jungle, so they couldn't see where they're going. So I like the fact that he handed her the machete and said, here, you go cut the pathway. And I was like, that's just a metaphor for everything. When you're doing something, you don't have a clear path and you're carving your own. I think it's very important to let yourself be bold about it and cut your own way through this, because you never know what can come out of it. So yeah, and of course, Star Trek, to boldly go, that is in the intro, to boldly go where no one has gone before, is how I look at this expansion of the brand that is happening right now. Now, this is not just me, anybody can do this. If something is inside of you and you're like hiding it, or you're too scared to do it, this is the time to like get a little bold and get in the Starship and go. So I love when people use the word secrets and keys and all this other stuff, because like there really isn't. It's get your idea and go do it. But a lot of people don't think it's that simple. I really think there's a lot more complicated things that come with it, but that shouldn't stop you from trying. If you're in a place that you can try, why not? So yeah, there's no recipes. Just carve your own path and make your own recipe. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, why did she say 19 statutes? Well, I sat down with my friend Linda from Clubhouse and I counted them up and I was like, holy crap, I did 19. And I did 4 in one day twice, and that was 4 in San Francisco and 4 in Kansas City. So it just so happened to be 19. And I was like, but I did the math. I did 19 style shoots and I had like 20 weddings. That's a lot for me. I'm a more low volume person. I like to have space in between, because I'm the kind of person that will get burned out immediately if I do too much of one thing, which is why I like style shoots, because you can break it up. But yeah, 19 is literally the number that I came at the end of the year, and it was just a fascinating number to me. It's like, it's not an even number, it's kind of odd, which is totally my brand. So I made this kind of like little acronym thing. It's just gonna go over some basics of what I feel like when you're thinking about expanding your already existing brand. But there's some things you can think about. There's some things that you're thinking about on styled shoots. There are a lot of things that you will probably need to know if you haven't done a lot of styled shoots. And then towards the end is where it gets really fun. So we're all gonna have expectations. Everybody who's a part of a styled shoot, everybody who's a part of your new brand is gonna have expectations. You know, you better say what you do what you say, kind of a thing. And I think there's a lot of us that don't know how to communicate our expectations, and so we get mad if somebody didn't meet our expectations and we don't talk about it. But I have a feeling, and this is a Good Omens couple, by the way, a non-binary Good Omens couple that was Xerophel and Crawley. And so it was a fantastic way to showcase what it's like to go cosplay, but not all the way cosplay, like a very subtle, beautiful way to experience that kind of theme. But expectations, like this couple, they just pretty much expected to have fun, and that's literally what we did. We had fun. It was awesome. So when you're setting up styled shoots, there will always be expectations with all the vendors, all the people involved, including the models. The X factor, you know, styled shoots are great, but what makes you different than anybody else? Like if you're gonna do one, how are you gonna make it unique to you and your new brand, or whatever your ideas are? I threw that in here because what else can you use with X? I mean, seriously, I could have put X files, you know, I don't know. But when you're completely launching this new brand, it's like, it requires more of you, and I think the real key is it requires a more authentic you, because what you're doing is you're digging inside yourself. It's not just about I am my brand, it is you out into the world. So whatever images you're putting together, whatever styled shoots and ideas you're putting together, it is you. And this goes for everybody involved. Like I love that Kate owned what she did, right? Like anything that she brought to the table, she owned it. It was hers, and she put her name on it. You know, same thing with me. I put stuff together, put my name on it. But you do have to ask yourself, what does make you different? Otherwise, you just look like everybody else. So there's always a process to this, of course. There's a lot of timing, there's a lot of processes that go with setting this kind of new pathway up. You can't just assume it's gonna go one way, and there isn't, like I said, not a set recipe for every single person. You have to figure out how you work, and then the best way you work. Like I said, I'm not a planner, but I ended up being one, not by choice, but I was like, I think I'm the only one that can execute this. And unfortunately that meant I was doing everything, especially on the Bride of Frankenstein. I was producing it, set designing it. Kate ran with her flower ideas. I was just like, but I spent so much time designing that I forgot that I was the photographer. And it's like, when you have multiple passions and crafts, you can get caught up in everything else but what you're supposed to do. So just remember, there's always a process to this. This is not overnight. I'm only 3 years in. So this is, you know, for me, it's been a process of relearning how to communicate to people. What am I actually out here doing? Who am I serving? And I'm consistently asking these questions, because if your brand is centered around a group of people or a way of speaking to people, and you start showing the different photos of couples you want to work with, then you really have to think about the process. You can't skip it. I am so sorry, you cannot do a shortcut. If you don't go through all the steps, you're gonna miss out on the full experience. And I think a lot of our event people, you probably feel that way when you run your events, right? You're like, you don't wanna skip it on anything out because you don't wanna lose anything. You don't wanna lose the experience as a whole. So always know that there's a process. And if you're impatient like me, sorry. If I could tell myself 3 years ago, it's gonna be a minute. So the anatomy, I really love this because I'm like the Phantom of the Opera cake. This is our Phantom of the Opera styled shoot, but I felt like the anatomy of not only a styled shoot, but just what you're trying to do with your new brand, there is pieces that are involved. And so how you work is important as just what you are working on. And I put the highlighter again that I'm not a wedding planner because I became one without even realizing it, and now I have much respect for people who plan things and manage people. It's a lot for me. And you know, I just feel like there's layers and layers to the events, even if it's just a styled shoot. And Jen shows up and says, I just want to do an elopement. You know, you can do styled shoot elopements, right? You don't have to have a full production. Jen shows up like, oh, I just want to do elopement, and then it turns into like 6 vendors. And I'm just like, oh, I did it again. I just had too many ideas. So anyway, but you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with how you set it up and what the end result's gonna be. So the need to know, this is kind of like a slide that just kind of remember to do the legal things. Remember to do the model releases. Remember to do all of the vendor informations, the expectations and the contracts of who's doing what, who's bringing what, who is financially responsible for what. This is just a really good reminder that not everything goes according to plan if nothing's like on a piece of paper that says who's doing what and where and how and why. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but I always prefer to work with real couples because it gets really, really tricky if you have 2 models trying to connect emotionally. And it's awkward, and it shows, for me, it shows in the photos. I'm like, because I always tell my clients to like give as much PDA as possible. But if they're 2 models working together, no matter how professional they are, I'm still gonna know. Like, they're gonna know. No, they're not gonna know. They're gonna know. You know what I mean? That meme is so funny. They're always gonna know. I know, I'm taking the photo. Direction. So you wanna ask yourself, what in the world are you gonna do with this style shoot anyway? But this should be actually asked in the beginning because, first of all, you're expanding your brand, right? Well, where are you expanding to? What does it look like? You wanna do adventure elopements in Arizona? Do you wanna just do rent fair clients? Cool. But at some point, you have to have an idea also of what you're gonna do with the style shoot once you're done, because everybody who's involved wants some kind of, let's just say it, publicity, some kind of PR, some kind of social media recognition that they did this thing and their name was on it. So I think we can all say we wanna be recognized for what we did, right? So it's always good to have some kind of a direction before you even start the style shoot, and if you don't, you can just do it along the way. But don't wait until the photos are back and be like, oh yeah, so a year and a half later, we got it published and such and such. The wait is brutal enough for 8 months. Yeah, it's a lot. So, you know, if you're gonna take it into blogs, and sometimes there are still some magazines out here, if you wanna take yourself into a podcast, and you know, I went even bigger, like TV spots. I've hired a video guy to come out and I'll do a full interview on what it's like to get married at the Ren Fair. Like I'll just hold the mic and be like, hey, here's what they offer. Like there's so many different things you can do with your brand once you've established that you wanna make your little new brand. Social media, interviews. I was practicing a lot lately on Clubhouse, you know, talking to lots of people. Examples, because we love examples, don't we? I do. This is examples of what it was like to have a plan from the get-go for the media side of it, for the PR. And that only came with me getting connected with other people with that mindset, because I think if you start with that mindset, then you know, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. I need to get my TikTok ready, I need to get my videos ready, I need to get the photos ready to submit, because if y'all have submitted weddings, how many have submitted weddings and not even the photographer? Yeah, if you know what the work that goes into submitting a wedding to anybody. You know, you have to pick the photos, you have to tell the story, even if it's a made-up story. Because with style shoots, you're not always guaranteed to end in anything. They don't like style shoots. They don't promote style shoots. They want real weddings. So you have to hustle really hard to tell them, I have this great style shoot, it's amazing, and blah, 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 and then here's what happened, and then maybe they say yes. So some of the examples. This next one was our Bridal Frankenstein. We started with the intent of getting a magazine cover. I didn't care what magazine, I just wanted a magazine cover. And so what was exciting was we had a whole bunch of roller coaster emotions of ups and downs, ups and downs.
Yes.
But who's on the cover? And maybe you've never heard of this magazine, I really don't care. We made the cover! No, I gotta tell you, the UK have amazing platforms for alternative markets. And it makes me so sad that I don't have enough USA options, although Offbeat Wed is amazing. Don't get me wrong, we got the Offbeat Wed crew in the house. She'll be in the next one. But getting this cover and knowing that Kate's work, that she had the bad experience with a style shoot, now her work is on the cover, She's got arm cuffs, she's got a big bouquet. This is actually her daughter. So it's like she's fully invested in this photo shoot. This is her daughter, who modeled for us. And then Lizzie styled it up. I bought the wig, and it was really funny to put it on myself because I was like, ah. But anyway, so we got our cover. We got our cover. What?
And the back.
Oh yeah, the back. I didn't put the back on here. I didn't have time. But I also think that you're going to have obstacles and disappointments. None of this was easy. This is the one where I did too many things. The photography fell through the cracks. I was crying. I was disappointed when we got rejected for the first one. And they're like, we don't see anything in here. And I don't have a thick skin. It's a little thicker, but I'm like, but I know there's something in here. You just didn't see it. You know when you see it, but they don't see it? That's kind of where I am. That's where the unknown comes in from expanding your brand. That's what all of this territory is. You have to be okay with who you are and what you are doing. This is why I'm cool being here. So, but when you have a goal, you don't give up. That's kind of how this happened. It was 8 months later.
It's a 4-page spread.
Full spread. We had a mad scientist. We had front and back. I didn't do the back because I was like, I'm gonna have this. But the great thing about this is that just they saw something I didn't even see. Like they chose this image. I was like, I would have never seen that as a cover, but oh my God, it's amazing. So here's another example. This is a really important one because again, we have Offbeat Wed here. This couple, this is one of my Kansas City ones where I did 4 in one day. We were going for more of a gender fluid. This is not a real couple. That's what I was saying. It's not a real couple, but you can tell. But at the same time, Jelaine is rocking it. And Holdy's like, please hold me. And I'm like, okay, we'll deal with it. But this photo, they started doing a call for non-binary fashion. Guess who got a whole week of inspiration just from one photo? I got a whole blog spread on Offbeat Wed for this. And they did a whole week of nothing but fashion that was just mixing everything up, and it was awesome. So that it's important to realize that when you're taking your new brand somewhere, that you could actually impact other people with just one image, maybe 2 images. I mean, that was an awesome time, just to have a whole week, just nothing but fashion. And the next one is our newest one. So the Wizard of Oz. This is the one I told you that I started off with an elopement idea that turned into a madness. In a good way. The great thing about, I'm so glad Kate's here because Kate's the one that did this. I had done everything. I did the sweetheart table myself. I picked the couple. I told her, can you go get a silver dress that's not quite Tin Man, but blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, well, he's got really long floofy hair. We should make him the Scarecrow Lion. So I was like, how would we do Scarecrow Lion and a tin person? Well, my friend Grace designs the funnel veil at the last minute. I did everything on the table in ruby red and emerald green, and Kate shows up with that. I was like, we were missing our yellow brick road. So she shows up with the perfect, she's like, oh, I got these at the thrift store, like $5 or maybe $3. But the fact of the matter is the publication and journey that this one was going on was way different than what I expected it to turn out. But doggone it, I was proud of this one. I still am proud of this one. I love this one. They're gorgeous. Everything about this photo shoot was gorgeous. We had 2 bouquets. Kate did one, and we had Katie with Heart and Soul do another. And so we had 2 different kinds of bouquets in this. And of course, it was a Lizzie Gator. You can see the chapel. But what happened was I submitted to Outrageous Bride, and Outrageous Bride closed. Literally the week it was going to go. And that's very disappointing. I'm on the group text crying because I was like, this is just so sad. Oh my God.
Jen, I have a silly question.
Yes.
I'm sorry I'm using this form to ask it. I've always had this question. Lizzie Gator is the name of the venue?
Yes.
And the name of the person who has
Lizzie is her name, yes.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Yes.
Sean and I have been very confused about this.
Yes, so she's actually joked about changing her name to Gator, and she's like, would Chris be willing to be Gator as their last name? And I'm like, this would be so weird. But Lizzie Gator is a venue,
His name
yes.
is Chris, and the venue is Lizzie Gator.
Yeah, Lizzie and Chris are the humans behind Lizzie Gator, which means it's an alligator. So all the Floridians understand the gator thing, right?
Got it.
I love it. Thank you for that.
It took a while.
That's awesome. So, and as you can see, if you've noticed our little cake figurines here, this is one of those things where we were trying to get an emerald green jacket for him, and Amazon failed us. And So he wore something different. But the fact that our cake designer took this funnel veil to a whole new level was amazing. So what ended up happening was the magazine picked us up. We were going to be in the spread. I didn't have to have the cover on this one. I was just happy with Quirky Weddings cover. And then Outrageous Bride closed. Literally the week it was supposed to come out. And there's something about a print magazine that when you flip through something, it's just like art. I'm an artist, so I'm like, when you touch something, it's different than just seeing it digitally. So I was disappointed. But I immediately thought, okay, Offbeat Wed is actually more open now to style shoots. And I was like, well, this is about as special as it gets. I don't know who else to go to right now, but I want it in a quick turnaround. So I said, can you take us in? I said, not to be all whiny or anything, but the magazine closed. They deleted the website. They deleted their social media. So if you ever do any projects, can I give you a quick tip? If you do any projects that you're really proud of, screen capture that and put it into a portfolio immediately. Somewhere else that's not online, that's not your typical social media. I have a smugbook gallery, so I put my entire portfolio in there. But this kind of stuff, if it's gone, it's gone. Like the website was literally gone. And even Lizzie and Chris were on the cover of Outrageous Bride, and that was deleted, gone. So we couldn't even celebrate that. So what I did with this one, as opposed to all the other styled shoots, is I took it up a notch. I decided to do interviews with everybody involved. I wanted to hear their thought processes and actually be verbal and conversationalist about it. Again, Clubhouse taught me that, talk to people. So we did, right before I came here actually, we did like 3 different interviews. I did an interview with Kate and Lizzie, I did an interview with the officiant, I did an interview with everybody involved because I wanted to see what their takes were on it and what their involvement and what they owned in it. And everybody had their own thing. I love the fact that they just kind of ran with it. But you can reuse all of this. You know how she was talking, Nari was talking earlier about long form content? Who says you can't chop it up? We already know we can chop it up. We do it all the time. We even take our chops and chop that up too. But my thing is how can I use this all later when I'm talking about the Wizard of Oz? And I have a client, actually Suki told me, that somebody on Offbeat Wed told her that they had never seen this done before. And I think that's really what my goal is like, what can we do that hasn't been seen before? What can we do with our brands that haven't been seen before or done before that makes kind of step out of your own comfort zone? And I don't try to consume a whole bunch of like trendy stuff, even though it's on the outskirts of my head. But I like to use my mind and sit here and think about what would I combine that would be so outlandish that somebody nerdy will get it. Or, I love blending themes. This was the perfect idea of just blending a theme together. It was amazing. And especially when you're trying to style the scarecrow lion. It was funny. So, another thing I want to leave you with is the fact that I have not arrived anywhere. I'm still ongoing. This is still developing. I am constantly thinking outside the box if I can. I'm trying to serve my clients outside the box. My clients before I left here were I showed up and they were in full Ren Fair garb, and I was like, what? You didn't even tell me that. They just said we're getting married in the backyard. And I was like, I'm gonna show up for anything. We'll see what happens. And most amazing outfits ever. Like, I can't complain about my clients. I started attracting people because of these kinds of style shoots, right? So you wanna think about this. I'm still arriving. I'm still on the Harry Potter train, I'm still going. So I like to think of this, and the reason why it's transformational is because I'm standing here today, I'm owning who I am, I'm owning my new brand, and we should all be able to own who we are and own our own brand, whatever it is. When I saw Jessica's stuff, I was like, oh my God, Jessica's so cool. But like Jessica's people are the people I gravitate towards, it's very, I don't want to say cartoony, that's not the right word, but Disney is very whimsical. There's a lot of whimsy that happens over here that may not happen in Dallas. There's a lot of very fantasy mixed with all kinds of stuff. Not saying I don't get some over there, but it's not, the Ren Fests are only 2 months out of the year. So, but I just want to let y'all know that some of this is just literally me 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot further every day, I'm getting up saying, what can I do today to break my own mold or continue to challenge myself, like making that floral bouquet. I would have never done that. So actually what I'm doing now is I'm working with resin. Has anybody ever worked with resin? Those 2 parts you mix together and then hope it doesn't stick to your fingers. You're supposed to wear gloves kind of stuff. That's what I'm doing now, but I also make narwhals, so that's other. That's a whole other thing. Okay, so great news. You have easy homework today. And not that they haven't already given you a lot of homework, but this is something you can do exactly right away. Go to any social media outlet of your choice, and you need to reintroduce yourself to your people. How long has it been since you've done that? Anybody?
Wait a minute.
I was gonna wait till I got home to do it because I wanted to do it with you all. Because you need to tell people what you're doing, who you are. I don't care how long the texts are. Do it. You can write a whole paragraph like what I did my about me. I was like, so hey, I'm Jen. I did this and blah blah blah, and I just love blah 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 blah.
Well, and like I've done it on my.
You just did it recently.
Right, and then.
You knew my homework. No.
Part of it is that I've done it on my business platforms, but I hadn't done it on my personal.
Yes.
And I did it on my personal, and I probably got 3 times as many responses.
And as much as we like to think people know us,
Same words, same.
and people are on social media consistently, and they think they know you, if you take the time to reintroduce yourself, it's very powerful. Like I did, I introduced myself today. I was like, who am I? Wedding photographer, conceptual artist, and speaker. Yeah, see, I had to get used to saying speaker. Because I'm like,
Jen, I have questions. I'm sorry.
don't forget to do the homework.
I will do homework.
Oh, and the who and the do is who you are and what you are doing. Okay, hold on. There!
Okay, so obviously, you know, anybody who doesn't know, I focus on Disney-inspired weddings, whether on Disney property or just themed around Disney. And like you said, a lot of people think that it's very cartoonish or childish and don't see that as part of a wedding. So I also do styled shoots to show people how I can turn the Aristocats into a wedding for adults. Or
This is why I love her already. I'm like, new
I
friend!
did-
New friend!
I did Pirates of the Caribbean here at Mission Inn,
Yes.
and I've done 11 different Disney-themed styled shoots, ranging from elopements to full production with a full band and everything.
Yeah.
My problem is getting eyeballs on it. So what you were talking about, publishing it and submitting it to blogs and publications and like getting people to actually see it, like I have no problem with the content. I have no problem writing about the
So
content.
now you just need the visibility.
Where are you
Yes.
posting it to?
That's the thing. I've submitted to several different big ones, and I've gotten rejected, and it's just kind of killed my whole
You know?
spirit
You
about
know
it.
what? Do not despise any
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
anything. There's a lot of big publications I don't even know. I would never use. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
I have a question for all you guys who are doing these inspired shoots based on characters and things. Do you have any issues with trademark and copyright, and how do you get around? Because I know Disney can be like,
They can come after you.
they will come after you.
Yeah, they don't like people using the Grinch.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why I'm asking, like, how do you just have to say Beetlejuice inspired? You can't, like, as long as you're the word inspired in it, that covers
Yeah,
your.
because nothing. I don't think anything I've ever done, with the exception of those cookies.
It's not an exact replay.
Yeah, it's not an exact replica. I have the same question when I go to Comic Cons because people are they're drawing the same exact characters and selling them. I'm like, how is that even legal? So I have questions on that. It's the same concept though, Jen. That's a great question because
Just because.
I like to make it so abstract but yet recognizable.
Yeah.
That way people kind of know, like,
if it's somebody that loves it, they know.
like obviously Beetlejuice, I don't think Tim Burton really gives a crap, honestly, but it's like, he was legitimately Beetlejuice, makeup, everything, and it's kind of like, people told me after the fact that it's kind of disturbing, and I was like, oh crap, you're right, Beetlejuice trying to marry this tiny girl, so I'm like, okay, I did two in one that day where I did the Dietz family, so I did Charles and Delia, not just Beetlejuice and Lydia, because that's kind of a strange relationship. However, if you've seen the movie, you understand it and you get it. But yeah, like taking characters, you kind of have to like be okay with removing like exact cosplay, especially with some of these big brands. And I know Disney's probably tricky too, but
I don't do anything exact. The
Yeah,
whole point
you
is
kinda
that
do
it is
have to spin it.
inspired by. It is little tiny details
Mhm.
that you, as the Disney fan of this movie, recognize, and if you don't, you don't. Like, you cannot tell that this is an Aristocats wedding if you are not an Aristocats fan or haven't seen it in a while. So the only issue I did have once that came up was with music.
Yeah.
Because I
Yes.
had a band perform the song Everybody Wants to Be a Cat.
Okay.
And the manager of the venue, which was the Edison, because they're on Disney property, they're all very whatever.
Yeah.
It was a cover. It's not the song, and we were able to, as long as you use the right words.
Well, okay, so, sorry, Jen, I'm just gonna ask.
No,
you
you're
another
totally fine.
question.
This is what this time is for. I do have to leave if I have to be on time, but 3 minutes.
So, you said you weren't getting exposure, and Sean and I talk about this a lot, and we're very, very different, and we're very different from Jen, but we're all friends, right?
Yes.
So, if you're not getting exposure on your events, or Jen wasn't getting, she is now, but maybe if you explained your why Disney means something to you, or why that's your niche, then if you put that behind why you're doing these events, do you say, I grew up in Orlando and I felt like I grew up in Orlando, so I get the whole Disney thing.
Like, are you,
Like-
Sean's gonna love this, are you on short form
Yeah,
video
you on
telling
short form
your
video.
So
story?
I'm not on video, no, but every single style shoot that I've done a blog post, and I write exactly why each design choice was made and how it connects.
I think
to
you're
the
gonna
brand.
have to take it
You don't have
deeper.
no video.
You're gonna have to do it
You gotta
deeper.
talk to him about doing that in short form.
You gotta do
because
video.
You get much more view.
Yeah, if it's an eyeball game, to get the eyeballs, people have to know why.
Jen's on
They're
short form
connected
video,
to it.
she's
And
always posting video.
And
now
I
Yeah.
she
get,
gets
like,
on.
from an artist's perspective, going like point by point.
It's easy to hide behind a blog, I'm just gonna say it, it's so easy to hide behind a blog.
It sounds cool as shit, and it is inspired.
But I wanna know, did you grow up watching every video until the
Yeah,
DVR
like if somebody got in your face
watching
at a wedding show and
more,
said, why
that's
do you
where
do
you're
what
like
you
Disney,
do? Could you
right.
answer that? Like, could you tell me?
Like,
Then
yeah,
tell the world.
that was where I was going, Jen.
She's like, yeah, it's easy to tell you want to
And
lie.
not to tout me and Jen's friendship, like Jen knows.
I know there's
too many
two
Jens.
Jens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Jens at this conference.
You know, Jen has had conversations about that with us before too, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but in my opinion, it's harder for artists to get in front of the media that they're working on, medium, and talk to the
Whatever it is.
consumers about why they're doing it. And it's just, you create so that speaks for itself, and as the artist, you can be proud of it and everybody loves to see it. Now people are so enthralled with like the why, and they want to hear it straight from your mouth why.
So
Yeah.
Pretty
when you
pictures
do
in
an
there.
aristocrat shoot.
Thank you. On a shirt.
Pretty pictures isn't enough.
No, you're right. Oh my god. that
No, I'm a photographer, that's not enough. You gotta go
But
deeper.
if I knew, if I.
And that's another talk, I have another talk called Inception. So at some point I'll talk about
But if I or, you know, YouTube shorts or whatever, either one of you, and like I know Jen personally, so I know why she does what she does,
Yeah.
but it's been involving. But like for you, I love Disney, I grew up here, but if I came across you on TikTok and you were like, and this is, trust me, this is new because Sean has only taught me this in the last year.
Yes.
But if you came across and you were like, oh my, I grew up watching
Aristocats.
that one, and I did this style shoot because this was my favorite part of the movie, and when I was little.